There's a lot to get to with the Celtics tiers.
There is.
And I don't know which direction to you stands out. Is it 90 total points the Boston Celtics scored in an NBA game? Is it the worst 2-game shooting stretch from three-point in league history?
10 of 40. They only missed 30 last night.
Is it Tatum and Brown are now 1 for 12 in 2 games in clutch time? Is it the fact that home court advantage doesn't matter in the NBA playoffs? I mean, I don't know where you go. Like, get this stat. So right now, teams are 26 and 24 at home in the playoffs. That's the lowest playoff winning percentage amongst home teams since 1981.
That's a hilarious stat. And I love it because it shows you that there's more parity than maybe we even imagined in the NBA this year. I know OKC did what they did to Denver last night, and I'm sure we'll maybe have a footnote on that at some point. To me, the takeaway is, one, because we all hate Boston, and it's fun to watch their teams lose. And if I see one more Celtics documentary pubbed on my television, I'm going to throw it out of a window.
There's a little bit too much of that
just
right
stop,
now.
dude. I get it. They're great. They've always been great. Congratulations. I don't need 37 documentaries on the Boston Celtics. Nobody cares. Let's move on.
I haven't watched a second of them.
I haven't watched any of them. Outside of the Magic and Larry one back in the day.
What am I going to learn?
Yeah, they were good. Hey, they were really bad to Bill Russell. Cool. That's a great history, Boston. No, I think the story is just simply the choke factor of both games. That's what makes it unbelievable. It's not just that New York went in and won the games, which is still a shocker to a lot of people. Not many folks had New York winning the first 2 games in Boston. It's the fact that in both games, they trailed by double digits. That New York scored 13 points in the first quarter yesterday. 13! So you can't, immediately out of the gate, I remember saying on the show yesterday, because I gambled the Celtics minus the 10.5 or whatever the line was, there'll be a response. They're going to bounce back. They're not going to miss 87 3-pointers again. Boston will be okay and probably win this game. And for 75% of the game, I thought, yep, it's going kind of how I thought it would go. They weren't killing New York, but they were up by double digits essentially the entire game. And then out of nowhere, it's this huge surge at the end once again for New York. They trailed by 20-plus in Game 1. They trailed by double digits for the majority of Game 2, and yet they find a way to lead the series 2-0. That, to me, is what is most shocking about all of it.
So I'm looking at this right now. Yeah, okay, I had this right. So at the 8:40 mark, Peyton Pritchard hit a three-pointer.
Okay? 8:40 of the fourth quarter.
8:40 of the fourth quarter, Peyton Pritchard hits a three-pointer. And that gives them an 84-68 lead.
Yeah.
At that point, I remember seeing that three going,
game's over.
Feels like Peyton's got it a little bit. Here we go. They're going to wrap this up.
Yeah.
They didn't score a field goal.
Nope.
Until 18.1 seconds left in the game.
And went 8 minutes. They just couldn't do anything.
To have that long of a stretch, like you give credit, I give all the credit to the Knicks. That's also insane.
It's like a 23-4 run to close out the game or whatever it was.
I was watching this in my garage working out, and I'm just like enjoying every second. I'm texting people because I don't know what it is. I really can't pinpoint it. I'm not a Tatum guy at all.
Nope.
I never have been. I liked him coming into the draft and like, hey, if Portland could get a Jason Tatum,
sure.
But we wanted a Nurkic.
Yeah. We wanted the 8 seed instead.
But, like, there's just something about him where I know he's a really good player, and he just gets elevated at a higher level than I think he is.
Because he plays for the Boston Celtics.
I think that's a big part of it, and I'm just enjoying this. I'm loving every second of watching this Knicks team for the second straight game come back from 20 points.
It's, just wild that it can happen in back-to-back games, let alone once in a series. New York just winning is wild, but to have 20-point leads in both of the games.
In the third quarter.
They should be up 2-0 in this series, and it should be
2-0.
over. The funny part is in Vegas, I believe Boston is still a minus 120 favorite to win the series. So if you want to go gamble on the Knicks, who only have to win 2 of the next 6, it's not a bad, or 2 of the next 5, I guess. That's not bad value right there.
Well, but like I don't know what to make of it. Windhorst, I thought, said it really well, and he's literally doing it on TV. But I heard him say it on his post game. It's hard to comprehend what's happening here because you're watching Boston build these big leads. They dominated them in the regular season, and then there's something about a mid-third quarter point their brains break and they forget how to hit a shot.
Yeah.
I didn't even think all their 3 shots were bad attempts and looks. They were open and
they didn't take what did they take in game 1? 60 of them or 65?
60. There were 60.
They took 40 last night.
They cut it down.
They limited their looks.
But their percentages weren't much better. They have in 2 games the worst 3-point shot making
so bad
in league history.
It's
bad. The worst ever we've seen, and they keep chucking them. And here was Joe Mazzulla. He was asked about it at the end of the game. He was asked about Jason Tatum, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I think game 1 wasn't inefficient as I thought he just missed some really good looks. I thought today he passed up some ones that he was able to take, and so their switchability, their ability to impact shifts, definitely impacted him tonight. So yeah, I thought he missed some easy layups in the beginning of the game. I thought he missed a couple there in the third quarter, but they do a good job. OG Anunoby's a good individual defender, and they have good shifts and help behind.
They didn't get to where they got by panicking and overreacting. But I got to ask you, don't you change something? Because Porzingis is dealing with this flu illness thing that he's been having, so he's not really playing. Brown had 17 first-half points yesterday, didn't do a whole lot after that.
Nope.
Tatum, he had that dunk that he broke away past Mitchell Robinson. Other than that, he's been pretty god-awful in the fourth quarter of these games.
It's been horrible.
I mean, Mazzulla's not going to change because I heard his post-game, and he's basically like, we got open looks, we just got to make our shots. See what we can do better. Don't you make a correction? Do you do anything different here? You are down 2-0. You've blown home court. And now you're going to go to the most rowdy Madison Square Garden's been probably since 99.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be wild for Game 3 and Game 4, considering who they're playing and the situation that they're in. It's a really hard question to answer because on the one hand, you would want to sit back and say, who won the championship last year? We did. Who won 61 games this year and was one of the best teams in the NBA essentially all season?
Yep.
We were. Who relied on and lived off of making three-pointers all season? We did. And so there's an aspect of now because you've had 2 bad games, you don't want to over-course correct and say, no, like this is who we've been all year. We just have had a couple of off nights. I do think it just simply is highlighted, though, like in the modern NBA when you don't have a dominant Steph Curry-like three-point shooter, these kind of swoons can happen from time to time. And when you live and die by one thing offensively, it can at times come back and bite you. And this was the case, I mean, famously with Houston when they got to the conference finals and should have beaten the Warriors and they got to a Game 7. They were a team that made a lot of threes throughout the course of the season. They lived off of making threes in the playoffs. What happened in the biggest game of the year? They had an off shooting night. And if you don't have a counterpunch, that to me is what's scary. Like, I know in my hip pocket at some point in this series is going to come a game when Boston breaks out of the slump, they go crazy from 3, and they kick the living S out of the Knicks.
They got to be due one of those
It's going to happen
right?
at some point.
Yes.
But the question is, now that you've blown 2 games already,
you got to win 4 last
should
5.
not have that you shouldn't have lost.
Yeah.
Now you're going forward and saying, if we have a big, we're facing elimination in Game 6 or it's a Game 7, and we have a night like this,
you're cooked.
Do we have a counterpunch to pivot to?
Yes.
And if not, then you're going to be screwed because that's what we've seen from teams in the past in the NBA when you're so reliant on stuff. We see this all the time in baseball. There's teams, this was the Dodgers for a long time, to be honest. They would hit so many home runs in the regular season, and that was their overall philosophy. They didn't play small ball. They didn't move runners. They didn't steal bases. You get to the playoffs, and all of a sudden you have a series where you're not hitting a bunch of home runs. How the hell else are you going to score a run? Can you manufacture one? And that's what the Celtics are facing right now. They're going to kill them in one of these games, I guarantee it, in New York. I'd be willing to bet a lot of money on that.
Colin Cowherd, huh? Enjoy it, Knicks fans. It's the only game you're going to win.
And that didn't age well. And Paul Pierce said if the Celtics lose tonight, he said this yesterday, I'll walk 8 miles to the studio to do the show. So
barefoot,
we'll see if his fat ass is walking barefoot to the studio to go do his show with some strippers around him. But they're going to get one in New York, but it's just you don't have a counterpunch, and that's going to screw you maybe in the long run.